The ship came down on a cold morning in winter. It was bigger than anything humans had ever built. The whole world watched on their screens as it landed in an empty field. No one knew what to expect. Some people prayed. Some people cried. Some just stood and stared till the door opened and they came out. They were tall, very tall. Their skin was blue and green, and it seemed to move like water. They had golden eyes that looked at everything with great interest. When they spoke, 3 mouths moved at once, and a small machine turned their words into English that the leader of the aliens called itself the ambassador. It walked toward the group of humans who had been sent to meet it. There was a general, a scientist, and a man who spoke for the government. They all looked small next to the alien. "We come in peace," the ambassador said. "We have watched your world for many years. We know you are young. We know you are still learning, but you have something we need." The man who spoke for the government stepped forward. He was trying not to show how scared he was. "What could we possibly have that you would want? Your ship alone is more advanced than anything we have ever made." The ambassador made a sound that the machine turned into a laugh. But its golden eyes were not happy. They were tired. They were sad. "Your weapons," it said. "We want your weapons." The general was a man who had spent his whole life around weapons. He had fought in wars. He had trained soldiers. He knew every gun, every bomb, every missile that humans had ever made. And he could not understand why beings with such power would want them. "Our weapons are simple," the general said. "They throw metal at high speed. They make fire and explosions. Nothing compared to what you must have." "That is exactly why we need them," the ambassador replied. It waved one of its long hands, and suddenly pictures appeared in the air between them. The pictures showed terrible things. Creatures made of shadow and fire. Beings that looked like nightmares given form. Things with too many teeth and eyes in the wrong places. "We call them the Devourers," the ambassador said. "They have been attacking us for 900 of your years. They come from beyond the edge of the galaxy. They eat worlds. They destroy stars. And we cannot stop them." The scientist was a woman who had spent her life looking at the stars. She had always hoped to find life out there. Now she had found it, and it was asking for help. "But why can you not stop them?" she asked. "You have technology we cannot even dream of." "Our weapons use energy," the ambassador explained. "Light, heat, radiation. The Devourers eat all of these things. Our most powerful weapon only makes them stronger. But physical force hurts them. Simple things. Metal moving fast. Explosions that push instead of burn. Your weapons are perfect for killing them. Then why not make your own?" the general asked. "If you know what works, why not build it?" The ambassador's golden eyes dimmed. It looked almost ashamed. "Because we forgot how, long ago, our people decided that violence was wrong. We changed ourselves. We removed the part of our minds that wanted to fight. We thought it would make us better, safer. We were wrong." The general understood now. He had read stories of peaceful societies, about people who believed that if they gave up their weapons, everyone else would too. It never worked. There was always someone willing to use force, and those who could not fight back always suffered. "So you need our weapons," he said slowly, "and you need us to teach you how to use them." "Yes," the ambassador said. "We will give you anything in return. Technology that will help your people for 1,000 years. Medicine that can cure any disease. The secrets of traveling between stars. Just help us fight." The 3 humans looked at each other. This was too big for them to decide alone. The whole world would need to agree. But somehow, they all knew what the answer would be. Humans had been waiting for this moment since the first person looked up at the night sky and wondered what was out there. "We will help you," the man from the government said. "But we need to talk to our leaders first. This will take time." The ambassador bowed all three of its heads. "Thank you. We knew humans would understand. You are the only species we found that kept its weapons, even after you stopped fighting each other. The only ones who saw war as something to control, not something to forget." The general watched the alien carefully. Something in its words bothered him. They thought human weapons were special. They thought guns and bombs were the answer. But the general knew better. He had seen men fight. He had seen what happened when people were pushed too far. "You want our weapons," he said quietly. "That is fine. We will give them to you. But I want you to understand something first." The ambassador tilted its heads. "What is that?" The general looked at the pictures of the devourers still floating in the air. He thought about every battle he had ever fought, every soldier he had ever lost, every time he had watched men do impossible things because they were angry enough, scared enough, hurt enough. "Our weapons are not what makes us dangerous," he said. "They are just tools, pieces of metal. Anyone can pull a trigger. But what makes humans fight? What makes us keep going when we should give up? That is something you cannot buy, something you cannot trade for. And when the time comes, you will see it. You will see what really makes us different." The ambassador did not understand. Its golden eyes looked confused, but it nodded anyway and turned to walk back to its ship. The humans watched it go. The scientist turned to the general. "What did you mean by that?" she asked. The general did not answer right away. He just kept looking at the sky where more alien ships were appearing. Finally, he spoke. "They removed the part of themselves that wanted to fight. They think that was a good thing. But they do not understand what they lost. The same fire that makes humans fight also makes us protect, makes us refuse to give up, makes us angry when something threatens the people we love." He turned to look at the others. His eyes were hard. "They want our guns. Fine. But what they really need is our rage. And that is something they will have to learn the hard way." 6 months passed after the aliens came. The world changed faster than anyone thought possible. Countries that had been enemies for years suddenly became friends. Factories that made cars started making guns. Scientists who studied stars started studying how to kill monsters. Everyone had a part to play. The aliens sent their people to learn from humans. They were strange beings, all of them. Some had scales. Some had feathers. Some looked almost human, but with extra eyes or arms. They came from hundreds of different worlds, all part of what they called the collective. And they were all afraid. The training camps were busy places. Human soldiers tried to teach aliens how to hold weapons, how to aim, how to pull a trigger without closing their eyes. It was harder than anyone expected. One alien soldier was from a species called the Veleth. They looked almost like humans but with gray skin and 4 eyes instead of 2. This particular soldier was trying to learn how to shoot a rifle. Its hands were shaking so badly that it could not hit anything. The human instructor was a woman who had been a soldier for 15 years. She had fought in 3 wars and had scars to show for it. She watched the alien struggle and felt something she did not expect: pity. "You are afraid of the gun," she said. It was not a question. The Veleth looked at her with all 4 eyes. "Yes, the noise, the violence. Everything in me says this is wrong. My body does not want to do this." "That is your problem," the instructor said. "You think fear is bad. You think it means you should stop. But fear is just information. It tells you something is dangerous. What you do with that information is up to you." "How do humans do it?" the alien asked. "How do you feel fear and still fight?" The instructor thought about this. She thought about the first time she went into battle. She had been terrified. Her hands had shaken just like this alien's hands were shaking now. But she had not stopped. "We turn it into something else," she said. "Fear becomes focus. Panic becomes anger. The thing that makes you want to run can also make you want to fight. You just have to learn how to change it." The Velith blinked all four of its eyes. Our ancestors removed those feelings from us. They thought emotions were weakness. They changed our genes so we would be calm and logical. "Maybe they were wrong," the instructor said softly. "Emotions are not weakness. They are fuel. They keep you going when your body wants to give up. When everything in you says to stop, anger makes you take one more step. Love makes you fight for the person next to you. Hate makes you want to destroy the thing that hurt you." The first real test came 3 months later. A distress signal came from a colony on the edge of collective space. The Devourers had arrived. Thousands of civilians were trapped underground while the monsters above destroyed their city. The rescue team was small. 20 human soldiers and 40 aliens who had finished their basic training. They landed in ships that looked nothing like the elegant collective vessels. These ships had armor. They had guns mounted on every surface. They were built for war. The Devourers were waiting. They were horrible to look at. Their bodies were made of something like smoke and fire. They moved in ways that hurt the eyes. When they screamed, the sound cut through the mind like broken glass. "Contact front," the human squad leader said through the radio. "Open fire." The humans started shooting. The guns roared. The bullets tore through the creatures, leaving holes that leaked something black and oily. The Devourers screamed again, this time in pain, but the alien soldiers could not move. The sight of the Devourers, the sound of their screams, the chaos of battle, it was too much. 5 of them dropped their weapons and ran. The others stood frozen like statues. The humans did not stop. They kept shooting. They moved forward. When a Devourer came too close, they did not run. They fought harder. 2 humans died in the first hour. Their friends did not cry. They did not mourn. They got angry. They killed more monsters. The battle lasted 4 hours. By the end, some of the alien soldiers had found the courage to fight. They watched what the humans did and tried to copy it. Aim at the center. Move from cover to cover. Keep shooting until the enemy falls. The bunker doors opened. The civilians inside looked at their rescuers with wide eyes. They had never seen anything like this. Soldiers covered in blood and dirt. Weapons still smoking. And faces that showed no fear, only determination. After the battle, the ambassador met with the human general again. The ambassador was different now. Something had changed in its golden eyes. "We watched the recordings," the ambassador said. "We saw everything. Your soldiers ran toward the enemy that has been killing us for 900 years. They ran toward them without stopping. That is what we do," the general said simply. "But 2 of them died. We saw it happen. Yet the others did not run. They fought harder, faster, more violently. How is this possible? How can any creature do this?" The general was quiet for a long moment. Then he spoke. "When those things killed our people, something changed. The fear did not go away, but something else grew stronger. Something that made the fear seem small. What was it?" "Rage," the general said. "Pure, burning rage. You feared the Devourers, so you came to us. You thought our guns were the answer. But our guns are just metal and fire. What makes them work is the person holding them. And what makes a person keep pulling the trigger when they should be running away? That is rage. That is what you cannot buy, what you cannot trade for. And that is what will win this war." Word spread fast through the collective after that first battle. Stories were told about the humans who ran toward death instead of away from it. about weapons that roared like thunder, about soldiers who got angrier when their friends died instead of giving up. The aliens did not understand these stories, but they listened carefully. More humans volunteered to fight than anyone could use. They came from every country. Old soldiers who thought they would never fight again. Young people who had never held a weapon before. Doctors who wanted to heal the wounded. Engineers who wanted to build better guns. All of them wanted to be part of something important. The aliens who had frozen in the first battle asked to train again. They wanted to understand what made humans different. They wanted to feel what humans felt. So the training changed. It was not just about weapons anymore. It was about something deeper. "Tell us your stories," a Velith officer asked a group of human soldiers. "Tell us about your wars. Tell us why you fight." The humans looked at each other. This was strange. Usually, they did not talk about such things. War was something you did, not something you talked about. But they could see the need in the aliens' 4 eyes. So they began to share. One soldier talked about his grandfather, who had fought in a great war long ago. He talked about how his grandfather came home broken in body but not in spirit. How he always said that the only thing worse than fighting was letting evil win without a fight. Another soldier talked about losing her brother in a battle far from home. She talked about the anger that filled her when she heard the news. Not sadness, anger. A burning need to hurt the people who had taken him from her. The aliens listened. They did not fully understand, but something stirred inside them. Deep down, buried under thousands of years of genetic changes, there was still a spark. Their ancestors had tried to remove it, but they had not completely succeeded. The second big battle came 6 months later. A world called Helion 4 was under attack. Billions of beings lived there. It was one of the oldest colonies in the collective, filled with history and culture and life. The Devourers came in numbers that made the first attack look small. The defense force was much larger this time. 5,000 humans and 50,000 alien soldiers. The humans were spread throughout all the units, mixed in with their alien allies. The plan was simple. Hold the line until everyone could be evacuated. The Devourers attacked at dawn. They poured out of rifts in space like a dark flood. Thousands of them. Then tens of thousands. The defenders started shooting. The sound of weapons filled the air until it was hard to hear anything else. The monsters died by the hundreds, but more kept coming. There were always more. The first line of defense broke after 3 hours. Too many dead. Too many wounded. The alien soldiers began to fall back, but this time they did not run in panic. They retreated in order, covering each other, just as they had been taught. The training was working. A group of 30 humans stayed behind to cover the retreat. They formed a line at a narrow pass between 2 buildings. If they could hold it, the others would have time to escape and regroup. The squad leader was the same woman who had trained a Velith soldier months ago. She looked at her people. Some were scared. All were tired. But none of them ran. "This is it," she said. Her voice was calm and steady. "We hold here. No matter what comes. No matter how many. We hold until everyone is safe." The Devourers came. Wave after wave. The humans shot until their weapons overheated. Then they picked up the weapons of the fallen and kept shooting. When the bullets ran out, they used knives. When the knives broke, they used their hands. They fought with a fury that made even the Devourers pause. For the first time in 900 years of war, the monsters hesitated. They looked at these small creatures who refused to die and wondered if the fight was worth the cost. That hesitation saved thousands of lives. The evacuation finished. The civilians escaped. But when the battle finally ended, only 7 of the 30 humans were still alive. The Velith officer found the squad leader sitting among the bodies of her fallen soldiers. She was wounded badly, Blood soaked through bandages that were too small for her injuries. But she was breathing. She was alive. "You should have run," the officer said. "You could have escaped with the others. Why did you stay?" The squad leader looked up. Her eyes were red, not from tears but from exhaustion and something else. Something that burned like fire. "We could not run," she said simply. "Why not?" "Because they killed my people." Her voice was quiet but hard as steel. "Every time one of us fell, the rest of us got angrier. Every death added fuel to the fire inside. We stopped thinking about survival. We stopped thinking about fear. We only thought about making them pay." The Velith officer sat down beside her. For a long time, neither of them spoke. The sounds of distant gunfire faded. The evacuation ships rose into the sky. Finally, the officer spoke again. "I think I understand now," it said slowly. "When I watched the recordings of what happened here, I felt something. Something new. It burned. But it also made me want to fight. Made me want to destroy the things that did this." The squad leader looked at the alien. She saw something in those 4 eyes that had not been there before. A spark, small but growing. "That is it," she said. "That is what we call rage. Hold on to it. Let it grow. It will hurt. It will burn. But it will also keep you alive when nothing else will." The officer nodded slowly. Something was changing inside it. Something that its ancestors had tried to remove forever. The fire was coming back. And with it came a new understanding of what humans really were. 2 years had passed since the aliens first came to Earth. The Devourers had learned to fear human weapons. They stayed away from worlds where humans were stationed. They retreated from sectors where human ships patrolled. But they had not given up. They were planning something big. The attack came without warning. The target was Earth itself. The Devourers understood now that the weapons did not matter as much as the creatures who used them. If they could destroy humanity, the war would be over. The collective would fall. The galaxy would be theirs. They came in numbers that blocked out the stars. Millions of them. They poured through rifts in space near the edge of the solar system. The collective fleet was waiting, but it was not enough. Everyone knew it was not enough. The ambassador stood on the bridge of the flagship with the human general. They watched the enemy approach on screens that showed the darkness between worlds. The general was older now. His hair had gone gray, but his eyes still held the same fire. "We cannot win," the ambassador said quietly. "The numbers are too great. Even with your weapons. Even with your soldiers. There are too many." The general shook his head slowly. "You still do not understand. After all this time, you still do not see it." "See what?" "They are attacking our home." The general turned to face the ambassador. His voice was calm, but carried something deep and powerful. "Every human alive knows what is happening right now. And every single one of them is angry." The ambassador looked back at the screens. Something was happening. Ships were launching from Earth, hundreds of them. Then thousands. They were not military vessels. They were cargo ships. Mining vessels. Personal transports. Anything that could fly and hold a weapon. "Those ships have no armor," the ambassador said. "They will die in minutes." "Yes," the general said. "They know. Then why do they come?" The general pointed at the blue planet on the screen. "Because everything they love is behind them. Their children. Their families. Their homes. Humans do not run when everything they love is threatened. We stand and fight. We die. But we fight first." The battle began. Ships exploded every second. Humans died by the thousands. But so did the Devourers. For every human ship that fell, it took many of the enemy with it. When weapons ran empty, The civilian ships rammed the creatures directly. Pilots flew into the heart of the enemy swarm and blew up their own reactors. The collective watched in amazement. They watched ordinary people with no training throw themselves at enemies that had terrified the galaxy for 900 years. They watched parents and workers and farmers fight, like demons from old stories. Something changed in the collective that day. The spark that had been growing since the first battle finally caught fire. The alien soldiers who had trained with humans, who had learned their stories, who had begun to feel echoes of old emotions, felt something overwhelming. Rage. Pure, burning rage. The Velith officer was on one of the collective ships. It had served with humans for 2 years. It had lost friends. It had watched them fight and die. Now it felt what they felt. All ships, the officer broadcast across the fleet. Its voice was different now. Harder. Stronger. Follow the humans. Fight like they fight. Die like they die. But take as many of those things with us as we can. The collective fleet charged. Not with careful tactics. Not with the caution of species who had forgotten how to fight. They charged with the fury of beings who had finally remembered what their ancestors tried to make them forget. The Devourers broke. For the first time in their existence, they faced something they had never seen. Not weapons. Not technology. They faced rage. They faced the fury of a galaxy that would rather die fighting than live in fear. The battle lasted 3 days. When it ended, the space around Earth was filled with wreckage. Millions had died, human and alien alike. But the Devourers were gone. Not just beaten, destroyed. The rifts closed behind them and never opened again. The ambassador found the general after the battle. The old soldier was sitting alone, looking out at the stars. Tears ran down his face, but he did not try to hide them. "We won," the ambassador said. "Yes, we lost so many." "Yes." The ambassador sat beside him. "You were right," it said. "The weapons were just tools. The real weapon was something else. Something we did not understand until now." The general nodded slowly. "The most dangerous creature is not the strongest or the fastest. It is the one that will not stop. The one that keeps fighting when all hope is gone. The one that turns fear into fury. Our people are changing," the ambassador said. "The feelings we tried to remove are coming back. We are learning to be angry, to be brave, to fight. Because of you. Is that a good thing?" The general asked. The ambassador thought for a long time. "It is dangerous," it finally said. "Violence is a fire that can destroy everything. But it is also necessary. Without it, we would all be dead. Perhaps the answer is not to remove the fire, but to learn to control it. Like you do." The general looked up at the stars. Somewhere out there, the galaxy was learning a truth that humans had always known. The most powerful weapon is not a gun or a bomb or a ship that kills stars. It is the rage of a creature that has something to protect. The fury of a being that will not stop until the threat is gone or they are dead. The Devourers had feared human weapons because they could kill. But they should have feared the rage. The rage was what made those weapons work. The rage was what made humans impossible to defeat. In the end. That was humanity's gift to the galaxy. Not technology. Not tactics. Not even the weapons themselves. It was the fire inside them. The spark that refused to die, no matter how hard the darkness tried to put it out. And now that fire burned in billions of hearts across thousands of worlds. The galaxy had learned to rage, and nothing would ever threaten it again.